being smart was not cool.
Explain that to me.
If you like around and didn't really care and you're like, yeah, man, it doesn't matter. Like that's where like the social validation came from.
Two startups that failed, right?
Yeah.
Were those
Those,
in the financial spaces as well?
those were like probably a year or two before Robinhood.
And then why did they fail?
Being an entrepreneur back then was not necessarily like high status.
Where's the money, dude? Everything that I started, there was money the next day. Like I create a product, I get money, I have it. You guys probably went how long without any like real money?
Many years. I remember
How do
being
you do that, bro? How do you build a business that has no money coming in, no revenue, no profits for years? Okay, hey guys, today I have an interview that is going to blow your mind. Okay, this guy, co-founder of Robinhood, Beju bought American billionaire worth $4.5 billion today. Could be more than that, probably is. Founder of Etherflux, space-based solar company. He'll be taken public in the future. Co-founder again of Robinhood with 20 million users, $70 billion valuation. And we're talking today about crazy stuff. You have to see this interview. Absolutely phenomenal. Talked about curiosity, the dog, primordial, pitchforks. Okay, wait till you hear what he says about pitchforks, how he started Robinhood, how he went all in on education, and how he had to wake up the adult in him in order to find himself. Look, if you've ever been inspired by entrepreneurship, by immigrant mentality, by how to get torn down, what rejection does for somebody to become who they really are, you're going to absolutely love this interview. We talked about everything from space to Robinhood, to energy development, to the next best thing, to new generation of finance, to who can be an entrepreneur and who can't be. Join me for this fantastic interview. Dude, it's so good to have you on the show, man. I've been watching your unbelievable success. Um,
my friend.
Amazing what you've created and done with your life.
Thank you. I'm pretty stoked to be on too. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Look, my audience is very entrepreneurial, a lot of business guys, they're going to be or business owners, men and women, and will be very inspired by your whole story, how you came here, what you created. So I just want to have a dialogue, just me and you about it. I'm inspired to be with you and to learn from you. Um,
Likewise, man. Likewise. You've built an awesome thing yourself, man. So like the feeling is mutual.
Well, thank you. But what you've done with Robinhood and now what you're going to do in the space that you're in, maybe offlines, I'd love to get some advice from you and guidance about how I could do, something bigger along these wide open lines that obviously you have to you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm like a caricature of an entrepreneur. Like I'm like the classic sort of person that like couldn't hold a job, like had to start out and do my own thing. Yeah, it's like
Well, let's just
kind of who
start
I
there.
am.
Where did
Yeah.
you start for the audience? Where did you start?
Oh man. So like how far back do you want to go?
As far as those big turning points that everybody's interested in.
Yeah, man. I tell you honestly, like the journey as an entrepreneur kind of started pretty early in life for me. Like actually quite early in life. And I think it's like people like we're all products of our circumstances, right? And and for me, like I grew up as an immigrant kid. My parents moved to the US from India right before I was born. And like it was not particularly easy going as a kid. Like my dad had a bunch of health problems when I was younger. We were frankly, stuck out a little bit like a sore thumb. Like my mom and I didn't speak English until I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd
English
you
was my
grow up?
second language.
Yeah, where in the
And
U.S.
so, hmm?
Where in the U.S. did you grow up?
I grew up in Alabama, in
Oh my
Huntsville,
God,
Alabama.
dude.
And then
It can't
after
there can't be
that,
a worse place for an Indian than Alabama.
in the 80s, dude, yeah, it was, dude, I mean, it's the life that I had, right? And so I grew up
Yeah.
there. And then after that, I grew up in Southern Virginia because my dad worked at NASA Langley Research Center. So like it was kind of interesting. I kind of grew up a little bit like, in like the spots that the military kids would grow up. But even like when I was pretty young, when I was like 5 years old, maybe even a little bit before that, my dad's kidneys failed.
Oh,
And, it's just like life started out with like a lot of headwinds, a lot of challenges, and you can kind of go different ways with that, right? Like I was one of those people that just like it helped me build the character, helped me get the grit, the tenacity. And, it's kind of interesting kind of reflecting back on it because I'm a father now, three little boys and one on the way.
good for you, man.
Yeah, all boys, a little army of boys at home. But it's kind of interesting thinking about life through that lens because they're going to grow up in a very different set of circumstances than I did. And I know that I'm a byproduct of those circumstances. Like those hard times in life is like what kind of, got that dog in me to like wake up pretty early on. Uh, so yeah, I mean, that was
So
oh, good.
yeah, so you're watching your dad go through the kidney problems. He at the time he was an engineer with NASA,
Scientist.
a
Yeah, scientist.
scientist, and then and that was his education in India.
We actually came to the US because he wanted to study physics.
Okay.
So he kind of had this lifelong dream. I mean, he's like he's a very cerebral man. And to this day, he's like very, very scientifically minded. But he had always been really interested in understanding like the mysteries of the universe and this sort of like this drive towards science and understanding the way things work was like imprinted on me pretty early on. So this is like a little bit far afield, but there's the fundamental theories of physics and like kind of explains how really if you really kind of like how everything around us works at like its more primordial level. And this idea that like you can understand gravity, you can understand electromagnetism, you can understand strong force and weak force and kind of look to see if there's one theory to rule them all. And could such a thing exist? And if it does, can we understand it? Like that was like the kind of stuff that motivated my dad and it really rubbed off on me too. Like I ended up studying physics at Stanford, despite my dad, let's say when I'm talking to my parents a bunch on this, he's like the son of an optometrist. My grandfather, I think, was one of the first Western trained eye doctors in India, or at least in his part of India. And he's like, all of my kids are gonna, work in this business. He said to my dad, this is my grandfather, and my dad like ended up doing that for a long time in India, but he was really interested in science. So growing up, he was like, I'm never going to tell you what you should study. I'm never going to tell you like the thing you should have academic curiosity about. But just growing up around it, it was like so infectious. And that's exactly the apple didn't fall very far from the tree on that one.
So when your dad got sick, what happened to his income? I mean, how sick was he, number one? And I lost my dad when I was 10, so it
Sorry.
created tremendous economic problems for us. When your dad was sick, what was he still employed?
Yeah, he was. He was a research scientist. I mean, at the time, he wasn't even a citizen, right? So they had a contract job working with NASA, like not even directly through NASA. Um, but and he was very fortunate to even be able to do that because I remember growing up, there was like the sense of going back to India, like, does healthcare even exist that would have kind of helped him navigate that? I don't know. But yeah, the economic circumstances were pretty tight. Like we grew up in like a small apartment in Southern Virginia. My mom never worked when I was a kid. She was incredibly loving, spent all of her time taking care of me. I remember growing up, my parents were like, we'd love to have more kids, but the finances in the house like didn't allow for it. So I grew up an only child. And yeah, I mean, without sort of my parents would probably be pissed off if they heard me say this, but like we were pretty broke. Like we had like a good life, but
Yeah.
we were not wealthy at all. And like paying for dialysis, paying for the medical bills, when you're kind of in, not getting paid that much as a scientist was it was very real, man. It was very real. And I remember as I became an adult, I remember that the weight of like having children is really expensive and like kind of thinking that because I remember hearing my parents say that when I was a kid, definitely left an impression on me. So my first was only born well after my professional successes were like fairly cemented.
Yeah, well, and dude, you've had a lot of success, like you co-founder, your co-chief executive officer of Robinhood. You joined Robinhood. How did that whole thing take place?
Yeah. There are two of us that started it. It was the brainchild of two college roommates, me and my good friend Vlad. It's kind of interesting because like the journey behind all these things, there's always like a friendship or like there's always interpersonal stuff behind it. The two of us were the closest of friends in college. We were both only children, both grew up in Virginia. Our families both came to the US because our dads were pursuing higher education. Like took all the same classes together in college. Like after college, like moved out to New York together, started a company. That didn't work out so well. Started another company. That didn't work out so well. And we're kind of like, once again,
Two
dead broke.
strikes. Yeah.
Yeah. And had the idea for what would become Robinhood. And when that finally happened, like, we were co-CEOs, co-founders, and kind of led the thing together through the first, from basically idea to IPO.
Let me back up a second to
Yeah.
understand. How did you get into Stanford, and then how did you, luckily, or for Vlad, luckily meet you, or you meet him? How did that happen?
Man, how did I get into Stanford? I worked my butt off.
Yeah.
Absolutely worked my butt off. Like I was like the kid that was taking classes at my high school, and then I was like working at a particle accelerator in my spare time. I was taking classes at like a magnet school. I
Oh,
was like
wow.
taking some classes at this like, like local community college in math. So I was all in on education when I was in high school. So that's how I got in. And I think it was not, I remember when I told the people I was growing up around I was going to Stanford, like a lot of people would be like, what the heck is that? And I'm like, wild. Um, yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up there. And I think also my dad's,
And so, like, to get into Stanford, though, so because I went to a small college in Louisiana. I wish I'd have gone to Stanford and met you, man. You guys, I would have been the third guy.
dude,
Um,
yeah, it would have been great.
it would have been fantastic. So, how do you get into Stanford? Why Stanford? Do you need connections? Do you need money? What does it cost, or did you get a scholarship?
I did not get a scholarship. It was very expensive. It
Uh-huh.
was like I remember my dad, like I said, had health problems when I was a kid. His kidneys failed. He ended up getting a kidney transplant. There's a whole nother story about like that journey and how that like woke up the adult in me, I think at a really, really young age. Because like even when I was like 13, my dad's kidney disease took kind of a turn for the worse. And I was really worried and I like, didn't know if he was going to make it, didn't know what my life would be like. Um, and as like a 13 year old, you're like, my God. And that was like when I realized that if I did really, really, really well in school, that was kind of my way out.
Mm.
Like that was doing really well in school was a thing I could apply my mind to. And if I did, I felt that sense of agency, that sense of control over my life. And at the end of the day, like it's a byproduct of my upbringing, right? Because my dad would tell me as a kid, because we were once again like not super well off. He's like, education is your way out. Like
Yeah.
education is the path forward. And the public schools in this country, like in Virginia in the 90s, were like rock on. They were good. Like
Yeah.
if you wanted to learn stuff, if you were academically inclined, like the education system was like the pogo stick, right? Like that was the only way out.
Mm.
And so I was very, very much of that mindset.
Now, the
Um,
kids, the kids that you're growing up with, okay, particularly the American kids, this might be my bias because I see so many people come from other parts of the
yeah.
world into America and do so well here because they're focused on education, the entrepreneur's path, making money, the possibility. How was it different for you growing up in Virginia when you were looking at the white kids around you, if you will?
Yeah. It's really funny you asked that. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And this is definitely not everyone, but I remember this feeling very distinctly as a kid, which was, and I think this is a byproduct of the 90s in general, is like being smart. or like being into school was not cool.
Right.
Like, if you like fucked around and didn't really care and you're like, yeah, man, it doesn't matter. Like that's where like the social validation came from.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, are you kidding me? Like, there's nothing cool about that. Like, not knowing it's not cool. Like, being
Right.
dumb isn't cool. And it's not to say that people were dumb by any means, but like that was kind of the cultural norm. And I think I was incredibly lucky to grow up in a household where like my dad was very academically inclined, my mom was incredibly loving, and they're like, look, we don't have a lot, but if you just are really focused on your schoolwork, that's gonna give you a path forward. And so it's kind of interesting, like growing up in that environment, because we were certainly not the wealthiest family in Southern Virginia. We were growing up, like through a lot of my childhood, it was like we were like not super well to do. And I think like sometimes it takes the outsider looking in to realize what you got. You know what I mean? And there's a really powerful connecting thread between those experiences and what would actually go on to become Robinhood. Because once again, the thought that I had when we were starting the company was actually kind of born of like that Occupy Wall Street movement, if you remember that,
Sure.
from forever ago now. Where again, like a lot of people that grew up in this country, um, were like, the system's rigged, doesn't work. It's not for us. And as an outsider to the financial system and just to America in general, you're like, no, this is like the land of opportunity. And like being a part of the capital system is the envy of everybody in the world. Like, how could we possibly live in a generation where people think this is like not a good thing? Like, this is one of like the shining stars of American society. The reason people want to be here is because you can have upward economic mobility. You can, get access to things like the US public markets. And the system's imperfect. And there's multiple ways you can think about it, right? Like one path is that you want to kind of tear the whole thing down. The other path is that you want to have more and more people be a part of it. And if you have more people be a part of it, then you have more people sharing in, you know, the economic outcomes of society, good or bad. And you don't end up in a situation where um, people feel kind of disconnected from the sort of economics of the broader stock market. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the thought
Yeah.
process.
So you guys, this is what? What year is this? Pre Robinhood. You haven't started it yet. 1990.
Oh, what were like when were these thoughts about
Well,
Occupy
you
Wall
had you had the
Street?
two startups that failed, right?
Yeah.
Were those in
Those,
the financial spaces as well?
yeah. Those were like probably a year or two before Robinhood, so like
Yeah.
early 2010s.
And then why did they fail? And
Good
what do you
question.
consider to be failure, or why didn't you continue on with those?
I mean, I think we had the idea for what would become Robinhood, and we were just like, you
Yeah.
know, we got to do this one. Like, I think
Right.
that's a lot of what it was.
Uh-huh.
Th those were like financial services companies as well. We were building technology for trading firms. We were building technology for like high frequency trading firms, electronic trading, hedge funds, stuff like that. Um, and so we kind of were interesting because my co-founder and I were like fresh out of college and trying to be entrepreneurs in finance, which just like people were not doing that. Like that was not a thing that was going on back then. And so we were these like two like math kids with like long hair that were like, we're gonna start a company. Uh, and I think people kind of looked at us like, you guys are kids. Like, what are you doing? But I think being an entrepreneur that early in life, you just like you learn things through the school of hard knocks. You know what I mean? Like you kind of it's like, what am I trying to say here? Being an entrepreneur back then was not necessarily like high status. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
exactly. Like back then, that word was used for the unemployed, period.
Thank you. Yes.
That word had not been popularized in the
Yeah.
90s.
I mean, we would
And
tell people we're entrepreneurs and people would be like, oh, so you don't have a job. And we're
you're
like,
out of work.
yeah, kind of true.
So why financial, dude? Why I'm trying to get into your head. Like I mean, you said some things that are very provoking to me. It's all, you went all in on education. You had this wake up moment as a 13-year-old, which is very real to me that, hey, I need to
Yeah.
be an adult. My way out is with education, and not knowing shit is not cool. And then you got this Occupy Wall Street thing that's like tear it down. And you and Vlad are like, okay, that's one thing you could do. You could destroy, not very productive, or you could create something new. And Robinhood is born.
Hmm.
Now this is an idea that hasn't been done. You're going to basically democratize Wall Street to the people that
Hmm.
don't have access.
Yep.
But where's the money, dude? Like where's the money? Like how do you guys, everything that I started, there was money the next day. Like I create a product, I get money, I have it. You guys probably went how long without any income, like real money?
Many years, many years. Like I remember
How do
being,
you do that, bro? How do you build a business that has no money coming in, no revenue, no profits for years?
I mean, we raised a little bit of venture capital early on. Like we didn't pay ourselves very much. Like we were pretty broke through most of it. And we just kind of stumbled our way through, to be totally honest. Like it
Uh-huh.
was, I remember at that point in time also, because as entrepreneurs, it's so interesting, right? Because like we went all in and bet on ourselves. We're
Mm.
like, at the end of the day, like we will figure something out. We'll like find a way to do this. And I say that because it's in like such sharp contrast to, and again, this kind of comes back to like high status and low status. And I think about that a lot these days. We did a really low status thing, which was be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, all of our peers were math and physics kids. Like those were who my peers were back then that went to Stanford. And these people had great jobs. Like these were people that were like
Mm.
crushing it, like making good money at Google and Microsoft and all these places. And
So
there
you're saying
was
that's a higher status decision and yours was a lower status.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
It's
took a
like,
big job at a Google and you took a, I'm just an entrepreneur with a startup.
yeah, bet on myself, see if I
Yeah.
can figure something out. And it's like top to bottom, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're doing boring, not technically interesting stuff like setting up a business, or like buying office furniture, or like realizing you don't have a janitor and somebody's got to like take the trash out of the bathroom,
Yeah.
right? Whereas the smart math and physics kids were like doing statistical modeling and like all this like interesting cerebral stuff. And the reality of being an entrepreneur is like it's not, you end up as the entrepreneur end up doing the job in the company usually. Like whatever the least interesting thing that nobody else wants to do or the thing that nobody understands and like wants to bite off. It's like guess what? That stuff has shown up on your desk. Like that stuff is at your doorstep. Like you got to figure it out. Um, so that was kind of the backdrop back then.
Yeah.
And reflecting on it in the years to come, and I think this will be interesting to to your audience, right? The difference was I fundamentally bet on myself. The two of us fundamentally bet on each other and what we could do individually. Um, And when you do that, you're, I think, kind of forced to take a much longer view on life and a much longer view on what can be possible. Because if you have a job, you work for somebody else, you don't realize like what's going on there. Like somebody is handing you an interesting thing that's bite-sized for you to do.
Hmm.
I mean, and if you're interested in like being a part of like a bigger thing, that's not a bad thing, but you're fundamentally looking to other people to help you think about like what you should work on, what your priorities should be. And those things tend to be relatively short term. As an entrepreneur, I've kind of found one of the benefits are you get to think much longer term. And the interesting ideas don't happen in year one, year two. They happen in year five, year seven. And no
So
employer is going to give you a 10-year project to work on, right? They're going to
yeah,
give you
that's
something
right.
to do for a
Yeah.
year
I'm
or
like,
two.
hey, I need something now.
Bingo.
I need you to go paint that wall and it needs to be completed by Saturday is what a job is.
Yeah,
You
bingo.
guys are building a wall that doesn't exist.
Hmm.
and don't have any paint. Don't even
Don't
know
have
if
the money for the
anybody,
paint.
say again.
Don't have the money for the paint.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, Robinhood's what today? 70 billion, 80 billion dollars or more.
I haven't checked today. It's a big company,
Yeah. How
big
many
publicly
employees
traded
there?
company. Thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah.
You were two guys, idea. Nobody's asking for the idea. When I mean nobody was saying, "Hey, I need a no commission account," right?
To the contrary, people were the smart people,
Yeah.
right, were vocal about how much the world did not need this and how bad of an idea it was. Young people will never invest. You have no idea how to build a consumer product. It's never going to be a business, you know?
Wow.
Like over and over and over and over again. I remember like I remember the first time I went on TV and talked about this and just like seeing the comments afterwards from like, the media being like, these guys don't know what they're doing, like da 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 da, and being like, "Aye, that stings," like, and I think maybe this is finance, maybe it's audacious ideas, maybe it was like exactly the specific thing we were doing, but I don't know that every entrepreneur is like greeted sort of very early on with you have no idea what the hell you're doing and you probably shouldn't be doing this. And like, here's a bunch of smart people that think you're a dumb person. But if you believe in what you're trying to do, you fundamentally have to look at things based on like what you understand about the world. There's this idea of first principles thinking, which I think is like understand your reasons why you're doing stuff and fundamentally like hold your own viewpoint as like a special truth in your life. And like the world is more than a bunch of mirrors and people talking to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you say first principles thinking, what explain that to me?
It's interesting. I think the simplest way to explain first principles thinking is thinking that's not by analogy.
It's not what?
It's thinking that's not by analogy. So let me give you an example. It's
You
like,
you putting
well,
some Stanford on me now, man.
well, think about like how you explain stuff or like get the rationale behind stuff. Um, the first principles version of something, for example, and kind of I'll talk about in the context of what I'm doing now, which is building space hardware and trying to build, a data center in space, AI compute in space. And like this is actually a kind of good example to think about this, right? So a big part of what we're trying to solve for right now is how do you make this new thing that we're trying to do, which is compute that's done in a very different environment than versus on data centers on Earth, and really understanding what are the economics of it, what are the unit economics of this, like if the unit of service that we're selling is a GPU hour, for example, right? Like, what does that cost? Well, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. The thinking by analogy is like, you know, these components or these things cost this much on Earth, um, but these other components in space are more expensive. Therefore, it's going to be more expensive. So you kind of like make an analogy of like what you think something is going to be. Whereas if you think about it from first principles, you ask, well, what does the thing do and what is it made of? What do each one of the pieces cost? And if you add all of them up, what does it actually cost? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the difference between thinking of like this is like that, therefore this new thing that you're trying to understand is going to be analogy like that versus the new thing you're trying to understand, here's what its constituent pieces are, and when you put all of them together, that's like how you think about it.
So when you were doing Robinhood, because and I want to talk about data centers in space. When you're thinking about Robinhood, you're competing with Fidelity, Charles Schwab, massive names, trillion-dollar companies, trillions of
Mhm.
dollars of holdings. They have all their blue chip awards and status with Wall Street. You guys are coming in saying we're gonna provide I mean, what's the analogy there? What's the thinking there? Like,
Oh, the first principles versus analogy thinking.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like
And
this is
how do you think about competing with these dominating forces?
yeah, I mean I think you have to have a good hypothesis about why you think you're going to win
Uh-huh.
and like be clear-eyed about it and try to do that thing, right? So our hypothesis was basically there would be a new generation of people that would want to have access to the markets, and that those people were their financial realities were very different than the people that traditionally used things like E-Trade and Fidelity and all the companies that existed when we were getting started. Um, and it's like, well, their customer bases are people, just kind of high level heuristics, right? That are kind of thinking about this as a retirement product, plus or minus 5 to 10 years from retirement. Therefore, your audience base is going to look like people that are thinking about it plus or minus from retirement, and you're going to market or speak to those customers with a similar channels, like running TV ads, I think was like a big thing that we talked about back then. Now, the first principles thinking is actually there's a new generation of people that will actually be interested in this because it slots into their life in a different way. Like these are people that have maybe not thought about investing before. It's a new generation of people. It's a younger demographic. And if you want to speak to this younger demographic, like you build a great mobile product, you build a digital first experience, you make that like, easy to use and low cost and all these things, right? And actually when you talk to that audience of people, those are the things that matter to them, right? So that's kind of like the first principles thinking is like it's not going to be analogous to the things that people have seen before because we have like an actual understanding of why people care about investing, at a different age range, and the needs are different. And we understand the needs because we literally talk to our customers and they tell us what they care about.
Well,
And
and
those
you're
might
you're
be
you're that
different.
demographic at the time, right?
Yeah, now I'm old.
Nah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think you got how old are you today? What are you, 40?
41. Yeah.
41 years old, yeah. And so you guys are looking at this. How much of this is economically driven, Buzz? You're thinking in the beginning, is there how much of this is financial opportunity? There's a big gap. Wall Street's ignored, I guess, Gen Z at that time. What generation were you guys targeting?
Millennials.
Millennials. So JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab doesn't talk to them. They don't have mobile. They're not cool and hip. It's so obvious now,
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
an idiot doing it. Okay. And now you're like, it's so obvious. How much of this was driven by an economic, like you and Vlad seeing there's some economic opportunity here, not just solving a problem, but there was a big economic payday for you guys and Robinhood and the investors?
Ah,
Because
that's a
because I
good
always
question.
hear, dude, I always hear everybody talk about, oh, it was a problem, I solved the problem. And very
Yeah.
few people after, they've had their success talk about, yeah, dude, like this was money driven. I remember Steve Jobs saying at the end of his life, money didn't make him happy. And I'm like, bro, but you had money.
Yeah.
Bill Gates says the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but all you guys say that at the end after you're worth billions of dollars. But when you're poor or you're working out of your garage or you're trying to come up or you're trying to go public, how much of
Hmm.
that is actually money driven?
Reflecting back on it, and I think about like what my personal motivations are in life today. Like I think you can kind of bucket people's motivations in, at least the way I think about it, pretty simply into like, are you money motivated? Are you power motivated? Or are you accomplishment motivated? And I
Hmm.
think for me personally, when I was earlier in life, I was money motivated and accomplishment motivated. Like those were the things that I cared about. And what did that mean? I wanted to build a company that would be really valuable someday, right? I was trying to build a company that would eventually be, even from the early days, right? The mission was to democratize finance for all. We were a stock brokerage company, we were an online trading company. Like we saw the big publicly traded, counterparts that we had, and we are like, we want to build a company that's going to be big like those companies. And so from that perspective, it was very much, from a personal motivation, I wanted to build a company that was super valuable that
Yeah.
that I created that would eventually like hopefully have an outcome for me like, in that generation, all the people that were starting mobile app companies that were having billion-dollar exits. Like, yeah, I wanted that. I really wanted that. For me, the other motivation also was to build, and this I think is the accomplishment motivation part, right? Is I wanted to build something that millions of people used. And I wanted the accomplishment of trying to
Mm.
understand like what it was. Because at the time, this was like a much more, this was happening like pretty left, right, and center where people were discovering these like little, um, and sometimes big, like use cases that millions and millions and millions of people would have, right? It's like, did any of us realize that all of us would be using Instagram or Facebook? Like that was a hole that we had in our lives, right? I certainly didn't, but some
I think,
people saw that. And so the question was this sort of like human psychology, sort of human behavior, human experience thing, like how do you find something that's useful to millions of people in a sector or market as competitive as financial services, like the intellectual challenge. Like, how do you discover this like, this like thing, this commonality of like millions of human beings and create something that speaks to that and ideally is useful for people? And for that, it was like building an app that I thought was, you know, where the design was something that I'd be extremely proud of, right? Where the way it worked and like the way it looked were in harmony, right? That the form and function of it were like that made sense together. And kind of coming back to the Steve Jobs point that you made a second ago, like I idolized Steve Jobs. Like I really, really did, and I still do. I never got a chance to meet him, which I really wish I had. But he had this thing that he did where he would create these beautiful products that all of us would be like, oh my God, I have to have this in my life, right?
yeah.
How could I have an accomplishment like that? So that was kind of the other one. And, you know, as I've gotten a little bit older and am financially successful, the money motivation is less acute
Yeah.
because I'm not poor anymore, just
Right.
very, very plainly.
Yeah.
Um, but I am still extraordinarily accomplishment motivated. And I think
Hmm.
for me, the thing I've wanted to accomplish since I was a young man or even kind of a boy was I wanted to build something that would be meaningful in outer space and like humanity's journey beyond the surface of the earth. And that's kind of the thing I'm chasing now, like the accomplishment of creating something that meaningfully extends humanity's footprint beyond the surface of the earth. And my thesis on this is, and all, to the curious mind, you see commonalities in all the things that you do and experience in life. My thesis is that if humanity is going to have a more substantive footprint in outer space, it's got to be financially driven. Like you
Mm.
have to create financial incentives. And when I say financial incentives, I mean ways for people to make money and have jobs that relate to humanity's expansion to outer space. Because the alternative, which has kind of existed through the majority of both of our lives, has been this stuff is government oriented, right? It's like for the government, by the government, largely at government prices. And it kind of limits how many people care about it. But if it's just purely commercial, you have more people that want to be part of working on technology for outer space because they think they'll have good jobs, they'll have good, family lives, and will be able to provide for their loved ones in a way that's meaningful versus just like being a scientist, which being a scientist doesn't play as well as like working at a tech company.
Well, I mean, yeah, clearly. your dad and you took a different path than your dad. He's got to
Yeah.
be super proud of you today.
I think he wishes I still would go back and get a PhD.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you could probably get a honorary PhD from almost anywhere. Let me ask you
Oh.
before we leave Robinhood, you have
Hmm.
20 million users today. You wanted to accomplish that. You wanted both, you were financially motivated, but also accomplishment motivated. Two things on this. What did it cost you and how long did it take you to make the app?
How
I mean,
long
I
did it
guess the
take?
app's never finished, but the first cycle of what you considered a product, how long and what did it cost?
I don't really remember what the cost is. I'll tell you how long it took though. There was actually an app that we created called Robinhood shortly before the app that a lot of people use today, like the current Robinhood. And at the time, I remember we were waiting to get our brokerage license. Like we were waiting to get the official license to be able to offer the financial service that was Robinhood. But leading up to that, we wanted to get something out there that was like financial news and like tracking the stock market. So all the things kind of related to sort of learning about the stock market minus the investing piece because we had to have the licenses to do that. We released that product. I want to say in like springtime of 2013. That was the first consumer product that I had built, that I had kind of created. That was what the company was working on. Uh, and I remember that thing when it released, saw like, an uptick in the people that were using it, and then it just sort of everybody
Like,
left. And I remember by that summer, I was like, well, Beju, it's another thing you suck at.
wow.
Right? Like, congratulations. You sucked at being an entrepreneur before, now you suck at this. And I remember that was like kind of a moment where I was like, no, I want to be good at this. Like, I want to figure this out, and I'm not going to give up.
You
And I
you had
think
raised how much money at this point?
a couple hundred grand, maybe $1 million.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no,
So
a
not
little, a little
you
over a
haven't
million
raised a
bucks, I
lot.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been told no by how many VCs, or you haven't gone to the VCs yet?
Oh, that's the reason why I was like, couple 100,000 or maybe a couple million, because during this time we were continuously fundraising from VCs. And when I say continuously fundraising, I mean continuously getting turned down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like how many?
Uh,
Like how many VCs said no to you?
I don't know, like dozens and
100?
dozens and dozens, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, we talked to
Now let me
everybody.
ask you, are they saying no to you because they didn't get it or because your pitch was just not, you weren't ready, the pitch wasn't right? Like how
Um,
much do you take responsibility for and how much of it is just the consumer, the VC in this case, just couldn't see it?
I mean, I think as an entrepreneur, whether you succeed or fail is like on you, right? So
Yeah,
at the end of the
of
day,
course.
it's
But sometimes the marketplace, you're just early, right?
yeah, we were. I think the big thing people didn't believe in was that like that people cared about finance on their mobile phones, right? I think the prevailing viewpoint at the time
That's
was,
crazy, man. That's just to think about where we're at today and to hear that statement.
yeah. I mean, some really smart people were like, you know, young people will never invest. They'll never do it on their phones. You don't know how to do it. You'll never make a business doing this. And at the time, they were like, why don't you build a social media app? Like,
Mm.
why don't you build like a photo sharing app? Like, that's a great thing to do. Like, that's what everybody else is doing. Like, why don't you do that? Like, why are you doing this like finance regulated thing? Like, it's not going to work. But this actually,
Doesn't require a license either.
yeah, I mean, this kind of comes back to thinking from first principles versus thinking by analogy.
Yeah.
People use mobile phones for photo sharing and digital content. Therefore, you should look at that versus the first principles version, which is a mobile phone is like a computer in your pocket, and there's all kinds of different things that people will eventually do on it, including financial services. and that there should be a native financial services investing platform that's built from the ground up for this use case. But to kind of come back before I forget, how long did it take to actually build the version of Robinhood that we first released? It was less than a year.
Wow.
Like it
And
was
what do you
like,
think it costs? I'm sure you guys are throwing in your time and energy at no cost to the company, but what do you think it cost in resources to build that app back in 2013?
oh my goodness. I mean, I remember in total we had raised, um, see if I can remember actually.
I mean, I know it's billions of dollars ago.
Yeah, I mean, I
It
think
all gets
hundreds
lost.
of thousands to low millions of dollars is
Yeah.
what it costs.
And,
I
and,
would
and
guess hundreds of thousands.
yeah, are you guys all in with 100 grand, couple of 100 grand? Like, are you and Vlad, like, you're throwing in everything you got at this point?
Oh, there was an extended period of time where I like stopped paying myself,
Uh-huh.
at which point I started biking to work. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, I mean, there was a long, long period of time where, I didn't, I had not a ton of money to throw into this thing, but the thing I could do to help the company was basically just, cut my own pay, like reduce my own pay.
Yeah.
And eventually, when it did kind of like take off a little bit, we did pay ourselves back. Because at the time, it's like, we had like literally no money.
Dude, so what was the big score? What was the first time you're like, you guys knew, dude, we're about to hit it and we're going to hit it big?
Yeah, it was when we
What year?
first announced it. It was 2013. It was the end of 2013.
Uh-huh.
We first unveiled that we were doing this thing called, zero commission stock trading. We launched like a landing page and like I think that was when we were first announcing our seed funding. Um, and we had a wait list. Like you could sign up to get early access to the product. And that wait list, in the very early, like in the first days and weeks, had uptick like we had never seen before. And it was one of those aha moments. Because again, the accomplishment side of me was very driven to build something that people would find useful. And like, how do you do that? Like, how do you understand what people care about to like manifest it into a tool that a lot of people find useful? And that another way of saying it is like, how do you know that you have product market fit? And I remember when we first launched that wait list, I was like, we got it. Like,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where like you know it when you see it, and when you see people um like sharing links to it on the internet, right? Or you see people like talking about it being like, like here's this thing, like here's why it's useful to me. And the thing that they're saying to explain a person you've never met, right? Is saying you should use this product or like I think this product is interesting because it does zero commission stock trading, whatever. To a person you've never met, explaining it to another person you've never met, and explaining it in a way that's like pretty close to the way that you explained it, that's when you know you've like created something that like resonates with people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. But look, what I don't get is how you guys, where's the financial path here? Like, where do you guys see light at the end of the tunnel where, hey, that money, the money is going to pay off, the economic incentive, the financial incentives are there. If
I
there's
think
no
it,
commissions, I'm getting the app for free.
yeah.
Show me the money. Where's the money going to come?
I mean, that's what a lot of people said back then, right? And I think at the time the thesis was like, how do you get the audience of people to use this to be substantive enough? We had some hypotheses for where the business would be able to monetize eventually, but we knew that before any of this stuff could matter, we had to build something that a lot of people used and found useful. Because I think that was kind of where we saw ourselves. Like, if it turned out that we got like 1,000 people using it, this was never going to work, right?
Right.
But if tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people used it, then we would have the economies of scale where like we would be able to offer other financial products, be able to offer all the things that we ended up doing that, even things like, yeah, the ways that we made money would all kind of like materialize. But it was all predicated on being able to like build something that a lot of people actually used. And I think
What?
that's how a lot of startups thought about it back then, right? Is like get a lot of customers, and then that's kind of the first phase of the company, and then you kind of go from there.
And worry about where the revenue is going to come later.
A little bit. I mean, we had some ideas around it for sure, but again, like when you're in the early stages of it, it's, there's a lot of ways it can play out.
And you're out of the company now, right?
No, I'm still on the board.
Okay, you're on the board.
Yep.
So I think you sold some stock this week.
Possibly, yeah. A
Yeah, I
lot of that
thought.
stuff is handled by financial advisors and is automated.
Oh, got it. So some of it's just on an automated process.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Robinhood's been very good to you.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting because again, like I'm on the board, and so I, can't comment on the specifics of a lot of parts of the company, but like looking back on it, right? It's like it's the accomplishment of it. Like it's a
Yeah.
product that millions of people use. It's in the cultural zeitgeist, right? And and in the face of like such extreme headwinds, and I think the
Yeah.
level of criticism that we got was it's crazy for a startup, right? Like people had pitchforks out for that thing on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're like, our customers love it.
How much of that you think drove you? The pitchforks, you talked about the dog in you, primordial, very ancient kind of, I see the Indian in the background behind you, the
Yeah.
skeleton. Who is that artist, by the way?
Wes Lang.
Nice, man. Nice piece. What
Yeah.
does it say at the very bottom?
It says, trust in your own greatness.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. It was a
How
gift.
how much of that? I mean, that's right with this primordial, find the dog in me, the pitchforks. How much of that drove some part of you to prove yourself in that accomplishment band, you think?
Oh, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I mean, I think as a younger person, and I think still to this day, right? Like the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans of the world, if somebody says you can't do something or you're not good enough to do something, when people said that to me, I was like, and I say this to this day, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a gift. Like your disbelief in me is now my motivation. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Why do you think, how do you turn that on? How do you turn it on? I know I can convert this. Me and Dana White had this conversation. He's like, don't tell me I can't do it, dude.
It's gonna
It's
happen
just
if you
all
say that.
it's the only fuel I need.
Hmm.
And I like, a lot of people don't have that. Well, is there a way to turn it on? You think it's genetics?
I
It,
mean, it's a good question. How do you turn that on? I think you have to live through some circumstances in life where you're forced to. You know what I mean?
mm,
Where you just don't accept failure. You don't accept that things that you can't have and like you can't like, impact the outcome of the thing. And when you see it working a couple of times in life, you kind of realize you can do it again. So for me,
yeah.
actually, it happened pretty early on in life. Because when I was a kid, I was actually quite overweight.
Mm.
I was really overweight, actually, up until middle of high school. And I remember I got,
You were pudgy dog.
oh, I was a fatso. Um,
Okay.
and I remember I got ostracized for it.
Mm.
And I hated it. I hated being the fat kid. I hated not being physically capable. I hated the criticism I got for it. And frankly, at some level, I took it really personally. And I was like, no, I don't like, I will overcome this. And I think going through one of those experiences pretty early on, I lost like almost a third of my body weight when I was in high school,
Wow.
from exercising and like,
Were you
and eating
bullied? Were you
less.
bullied because you were overweight?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
What, just people whispering or to your face calling you fatso or
Yeah, to my face.
well, that's better.
Yeah, and I took it personally.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well, it was personal.
yeah. And And I tell you, when I realized that I could do something about it, and that if I like internalized it and acted on it, that I could have a different outcome. Every time I've had a challenge in life, I go back to that little place where I'm like, if I feel like my back against the wall, I feel a little sigh of relief because I'm like, okay, I know how to deal with this.
Mm,
Like it's if I can control my body and I can control my mind, then I can do anything, right? I've done it before. I know what adversity feels like. I know what the sort of like mental game I have to play with myself to like, kind of get that negativity and turn into motivation.
mm.
So how do you turn it on? I don't know. Um I really don't know. I think you have to go through experiences where you don't have an option.
Yeah, and I don't know. The internet says you're worth 4.5 billion. It's probably short. I know it's probably higher than that because it seems to lag. I won't hold you to a number, but clearly the money does not satisfy the dog and the need to accomplish. Because now you're on to Aether Flux. Am I pronouncing it right?
Aetherflux, yeah.
How do you say it?
Aetherflux.
Ether Flux. So here you are. You're going to go into space now
Yeah.
and use. I get you're going there to generate energy.
Yeah. Exactly. It
What,
doesn't
what,
it
what
doesn't
number
satisfy.
one, because I'm a real estate guy. What if you pull it off, dude? What does it do to the trillions of dollars that is going to be invested in data centers on planet Earth?
I think it makes it a very, very interesting proposition because here's how I think about it.
I mean, for the good or for the bad?
I think for the good. So I'll tell you why.
For uh,
Because I think, and this is kind of an interesting debate that I think a lot of people are having right now, whether they think AI is like this thing that's going to result in massive job loss and like have this catastrophic effect on the economy, or is it a tool that's going to like amplify productivity? And, you know, um, I mean, man, the way that it sort of democratizes access to learning is
mhm.
crazy. So powerful. I mean, I was thinking about it this morning, right? I used AI to educate myself on the aerospace industry and satellite engineering and spacecrafts and all this stuff, where like without AI, that would have been so freaking difficult. I would have had to go and like camp out at like the math and physics buildings or the, aerospace engineering building at Stanford and like go and talk to professors like
Yeah,
3 times a week and be like, help me understand this, help me understand this, help me understand this. Where I just like was able to use AI to do it. And as I think that there's for the people that like have that curiosity that want to make use of it, it's going to be a massive amplifier of like learning and a massive amplifier of curiosity. And I think that we're, I think number one, we're still in the very early stages of this by a lot of accounts of it, and that if we want to have more and more sophisticated AI, we need more computers, we need more energy, and we need more compute. Um, and I think that in 5 years, in 7 years, like we're gonna have to start getting really creative about where we find all the energy to do this on planet Earth. And I think having a way to do this where you can scale it outside of the limitations of the terrestrial energy grids, where basically as soon as a data center satellite is in space and as soon as it's facing the sun, that thing is on, right? And that thing is going to be powered by the sun until it deorbits and it like vaporizes upon reentry. And so there's like this really cool thing where you get more capacity online every time you launch, and you can launch sort of independently of like having to go and commission like a building on the ground and go through real estate and permitting, which I know
yeah.
you're a real estate guy. Like that's going to start to become a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger bottleneck. in my opinion. And so, yeah, I don't foresee I don't foresee a world where people use AI less in the future. I think people are going to use it way more. I think we're going to live in a world where there's literally everybody's got agents running in the background that are doing stuff for them. And like, where's that energy going to come from? And I think if,
So that I understand the audience. Like when I go use Grok or Claude or whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's using energy. How's it using energy?
Yeah, there's a version of one of these language models or these AIs that are running on GPUs, and those GPUs are using a ton of energy to do computations, right? Based on
Mhm.
whatever input you give it, it's going to use energy to run those chips to compute it, and then it's going to spit you back an answer.
Because now it's using more energy because I am now asking, hey, tell me everything you know about whatever solar. It's
Yeah,
using energy because it's going where, and I'm asking a very dumb question here because I don't understand it. I think a lot of people don't as well.
yeah.
It's consuming energy from what? As it searches?
It's computing energy. It's this thing is called inference. That's the word that people use for it. Is you have the actual model, which is the thing that you're asking a question to. That model is being run on a server. That server has GPUs on it, right?
Mm.
The GPUs are actually taking the little weights of the model and they're doing a computation on it. And to do that computation, that GPU is using a ton of electrical power, right? It's using power that it's getting from the socket on the wall in the case of doing it on the earth.
And it wasn't being asked this question 4 or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever.
Yeah, and I think what you see now is like you get more and more intelligence oftentimes when you let the model kind of run the computation for longer.
Hmm.
And the longer it's running, the more power it's using
Got it.
as like a simple heuristic.
Got it. Got it. So this is whenever electricity came on and we turned, when I grew up in Louisiana, my mom would say, turn the lights off. Now you have tens of millions of people asking Grok or Claude or Gemini a question. That
And they're
was not
leaving the
being
lights
that
on.
was not being done three years ago.
This technology is super new.
Yeah, just flushing the toilet now. It's turning on the lights, leaving the refrigerator open at scale because
Yeah.
there's no refrigerator, no toilet, and there's no house built. Anybody with a computer now can turn that switch on and ask a question. Hey, is this even true? Like for me, AI, the negative about AI is it has completely destroyed my experience with social media in the last 4 months because now I trust nothing.
Yeah.
Now, the upside, and I'd love your input on this. I think this is going to be the biggest boom since the last industrial revolution. Blue collar jobs, HVAC, construction workers, electrical, roofers are going to be an explosion of middle class wealth that's going to be developed. And there's going to have to be business owners that build these data centers on Earth while you
Hmm.
guys are building them in space.
Yeah.
I see it as constructive, not destructive. How do you see it for the regular man or woman or family?
I think humans are incredibly innovative people, and I think we should never underestimate the sort of resourcefulness of humanity, right? And I think about this actually, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday as like a pretty narrow example. Think about the number of people, think about over the 2010s, right? The number of American businesses that wanted to build mobile apps, that wanted to build mobile technology, right? They wanted to build really cool, useful things like the Googles and the Apples and the, so ons of the world. Here's the reality of that decade is every software engineer, like there was a dearth of software engineers across the country. The vast majority of them were working in Silicon Valley, right? And like it was like fighting tooth and nail to get a good software engineer to work on your thing. And I say that because if you had lived through an era of like true software engineering abundance during that era of time, you would have, I think, even more software companies that came up. but there's like it wasn't available to everybody because the number of people that could do it was small. There was a lot of competition for them. They were super well paid. Um, and you think about like the ability for AI to write software, which even in the last year, it's like I don't know that people were talking about this like a ton 3 years ago. It's like this is a
That's right.
relatively new thing. Think about the power of that. Now, every small business across the country has like great software engineers at its fingertips. So what does that do? I think that increases productivity. I think it gives the ability for more people, frankly, to be entrepreneurial. And I think that you have to I think if you don't take the optimistic viewpoint on how people evolve and change and use technology, you'll like miss the forest from the trees. I think it's I just think it's super important to have an optimistic view on how the world changes because whatever we see as the limitations right now, our kids are going to see them pretty differently.
Yeah. How much of that optimism do you think comes from your experience with being rejected about around Robinhood and no one seeing it, the doom, that's never going to work? How much is that it's now personal, real experience for you at 41 years old that
Yeah.
it's a stable datum that you can crank on?
Yeah, I mean, optimism is free.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know, like it, you can always have a positive outlook on life, and I
Hmm.
think it's fundamentally it comes from having like a belief in your own ability to do things, right? So yeah, I think optimism is free. I think that there's too many people that um, there's a related thought here, right? Which is like it's very easy to sound smart by being a critic. It's
Yeah.
very easy to feel smart by being a critic. Oftentimes, by being an optimist, you sound a little less smart. You sound like you believe that something positive could happen when it's very
Mm.
easy to construct a wall of negative ideas of why the world will stay exactly the way it is and that, nothing will ever change. But
Yeah. Being optimistic doesn't mean you're not practical, right? I mean, there's going
yeah,
to be losers with AI. Give me three winners and three losers in your mind.
I mean, I think winners with AI are going to be anybody that's curious that wants to learn new stuff at a very base level.
Hmm.
I think it's going to benefit people that are curious, that want to try new stuff, that are not afraid of technology. Um, who are
So
going to be the,
I can go to Stanford now.
I mean, you can get a great education using AI.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And
So does Stanford lose? Do colleges lose then if I don't have to go to them? The small colleges, does somebody suffer?
maybe
Brick and
I
mortar.
think I think I maybe it's smaller colleges that suffer. I mean, I think there is a version of that happens. To
Yeah.
me, that like it very much stings to think that because I think education is so important, and I think that colleges, like even outside of the education, for me was such an important thing in life because so hopefully colleges and higher education are not a loser because if they are a loser, I think that says something not so great about where society goes.
Mm.
Who are the losers of this?
But dude, let's just talk about this. I
Yeah.
can go to Stanford now. I can go
Yeah.
to Harvard. I can go to Yale. I can go to MIT. Nobody can keep me out.
Yeah. Because you get access to, I mean,
Uh,
the reason I went to Stanford was
No
because I
money,
wanted
no
to,
scholarship, no taxes involved, no stealing money, no like rich family access, like black, brown, white, male, female, young, old. I like if I can ask a question, I can get an answer.
yeah.
So anybody with excuses loses,
hmm
right?
People that don't adopt it, people that aren't curious, like there's going to be intellectual haves and have-nots that come out of this. The
Hmm.
curious people, the early adopters, like it's such an accelerant on your ability to learn stuff. Like not using it, I think there's a real chance you fundamentally get left behind.
Hmm.
Um, well, yeah.
Industries that are losers. Who are some industries that are losers? I
Let's
mean,
see.
look, software. I mean, what's the big the CRM company? There's going to be some losers, dude. Somebody has to lose a little bit. Like the horse lost to the car,
The horse did lose to the car.
but there
Yeah,
was more
maybe.
winners out of that invention: windshields, rims, brakes,
Yeah,
automatic
maybe it
windows.
maybe it is some of the education, like the sort of like not super useful education that loses.
Okay.
Um, I think there's also a lot of like there's a lot of people that think that it's going to create a lot of job loss. I personally think it's actually going to like create more opportunities. It's
Yeah.
pretty hard to tell right now, honestly. It's like it's such a powerful thing. It's hard to tell.
Hmm. Where would
I
you want to
guess.
be? Let's say you weren't going to go to space. You're
Hmm.
20 years old. You're looking at AI. You're like, do I go to college or do I what?
Do I what? I be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think it is so much easier to become an entrepreneur now than
You
it ever
think
has.
anybody can be an entrepreneur?
I do, yeah.
Uh-huh. I agree with
I
that.
really do. Do you?
100%. I mean, you could be bad at it,
You can be terrible at it. I was
but
actually having this conversation with somebody a couple of days ago where it was a really smart fellow, it's a very academically minded person, that was like, well, I have this idea for this product that I want to build, and like they were explaining it to me, and I was like, I've heard you for like, 5 to 10 minutes.
yeah.
My advice to you is you should cut this conversation off right now and go start working on it.
Mm,
Like, do not think about it anymore. Like, being an entrepreneur is not a intellectual endeavor. It's like much
mm,
more of a school of hard knocks endeavor. Like, you're not, if you go into it with the mindset of like you're going to look for the right answer and the right answer is the outcome, it's just absolutely not. It's so iterative. You need to just go for it, get into the mix, get to failure quickly. As soon as you fail, you'll understand what you should actually be doing. Like, don't pontificate, don't opine, don't build a little intellectual cathedral in your brain. Let's go and do it. Like, roll your sleeves up, get started right now. And also, in general, as an entrepreneur, I think as a 20 something, if I were to tell my 20 something self what to do, it would be like if you start early, um, you're betting on yourself at an early point in life, and that's a good thing. Number two, being an entrepreneur never ever gets easier. It always gets harder as time goes by. So if you have that inclination, just get after it right now.
so would you go to college today? You have AI, you
Yeah, I
can go
would.
get
I would.
you would still go.
Yep, I would. Because I got so much
Would you
more
go
from college. Huh?
uh-huh.
I got so much more from college than just the education. I
Yeah.
mean, I met brilliant people, right? I mean, I was a
Would you
smart
go the whole
kid.
4 years would you go for the degree?
I would. Yeah, I would.
But you okay, but you have the college in your pocket now.
Hmm. What do you mean?
Okay, let's say you got it in your pocket. You said you spent
Oh,
2 hours in you got a
yeah.
space degree in the last week.
But like here's the thing, man. It's such a formative age in life where even to this day, you can't start a company and just have a bunch of AIs doing your stuff for you. Like you need humans around you to bounce ideas off of. And I
Mm,
think one of the most important parts of college, at least for me, was being around people that were smarter than me, right? Is like being in those social circumstances where you learn, where you see how really hardworking, smart people operate,
mm,
and you realize that like you know, it's a competitive environment, right? It's an environment um, where you get to learn from your peers. You get to see like what the next level of people do. Like for example, right, going to Stanford and seeing like the quality of students there, and just like going up to the math department and just being like very, very, very humbled. I growing up, I was like the smart math kid. I went to Stanford. I'm like, oh my goodness, there are levels to this stuff, right?
yeah.
And then you see the people that are at this higher level, and for me at least, it's like that sparks a little competition, right? It's like, how do I, like, what do I need to find in myself to get better at this? What do I need to do to like be at the level of those people? You're not going to get that sitting with, your AI in your pocket. Like,
Yeah.
we're still people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I missed it. You see, I spent 5 years in college. I didn't go with the intention you did. I went
Well,
because I was told to go. And so I
yeah,
went, I ended up with a terrible drug problem. And, that's mostly what I learned there. So I mean, I got out, I got my accounting degree and everything. And I'm sure it's benefited me in some ways, but I wasted 5 years. You know, the value you're explaining to me is seeing the other intelligence and the competition and the discipline and guys finishing on time. And I don't even know if that was where I went to school. I don't even know if that was in the room. It probably was. But if you don't look for it, you're not going to
yeah,
see it.
you're not going to see it. Yeah. I mean, and again, I think that was probably the biggest thing that came out of going to Stanford for me because like I studied physics and math. That sure as didn't have much to do with building an online stock brokerage company. But when we were starting the company and we had trouble hiring the sort of, experienced people that worked at the big banks and did this stuff, we knew what smart looked like. I knew what really, really high horsepower early career people look like
Mm.
because I'd been around them. And a lot of what I was like looking for when I was building the company was like, how do you get the best and the brightest minds that maybe have a little bit less experience but have that really, really sharp upward trajectory? And realizing, having been around those kinds of people early on in life, that you bet on those people will crush it. So
How much of your success has been because you were able to find those people versus it just coming back to you and another key player making it work?
I think it was hugely about finding those people. It's huge. It
Yeah.
was hugely. Yeah, it was because the thing about it, right? Like I started out as an entrepreneur in my early 20s and walking into a lot of rooms at the base case was, oh, these guys went to Stanford. They're math people. There was like a little bit of like suspension of disbelief, a little bit of credit we got that we weren't just total dummies doing it, right? Um, and when you have that in your back pocket and you know other people like that, it's an amplifier when you don't have, as a 20-year-old, too much else to stand on.
I appreciate you giving me so much of your time, man. This has been super, super
Yeah,
inspiring to me.
this is a fun
And
combo. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
And
I
look,
just,
man, it's inspiring for me too. You're very much admire what you do.
well, thanks, man. Definitely a different path, but I can relate to so many. I've interviewed so many successful people, and it comes down every time I walk away, I'm like so inspired to be more curious. And, this thing you said about accomplishment, there's no money. And I think people, I'm sure you've been asked, when are you going to have, when's enough enough? How many times have you been asked that?
All the time.
It's, what do you
I,
think when people ask you this question?
you're missing the point, right? I think
Totally.
people think that retirement is the goal, right? People think that the accomplishment, like, or sorry, like being at the top of the mountain is the goal, and it's not because I think about like what were some of those moments in my life, right? The day that I took Robinhood public, the IPO day, right? I remember that day, like I remember number one, that day was kind of emotionally numb for me. I distinctly remember. But when I think back on like
Because why was it emotionally dumb?
emotionally numb,
Oh, numb. Why?
because I feel like I had kind of expended myself getting to that point, you
Uh-huh.
know? And it was just like a sigh of relief, kind of like,
Got it.
I can't believe it finally happened? Um, Again, because it was in the face of pretty hardcore headwinds. But when I think back, right, about what parts of that Like, what's that thing that I look back and I'm like, oh God, that was so cool, you know? It's not that day. It's
Right.
not that at all. It's the days when we were, when I was in the office, like in the wee hours of the night, working on a product, and I was like, figured it out. I got it. Like I had that breakthrough, like, aha, you know? It was the journey of going from not knowing something to figuring it out, to seeing other people be like, whoa, that's a really great product. Or when you see, remember when I would show people like the version of the thing that I was working on, and people would play around and be like, oh, that's interesting. I like the way that works. Like, what about this? What about that? That was the fun stuff. Like that's the experience I'm trying to relive. It's not the, being at the sort of like, being on Wall Street, like ringing the bell like that. It's
Was
not.
that day anticlimactic? Looking back, like,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was
yeah,
pretty climactic too, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But you kind of build it up to be this whole thing. And when you
yeah,
look back, um, that's not the feeling that I find myself chasing. I find myself chasing the feeling of um I find myself chasing the feeling of discovery.
yeah. And then the money, Beju, how much has the money like changed things, the influence of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, if there is any?
Yeah, I think people treat me very differently. I'm sure you
Uh-huh.
experience that too. Um, it's not having to think about it as much, I think, is the great luxury. Like being able to do stuff, being able to like have a few things that I like that I get to indulge. Like I really love cars. I really love classic cars.
Yeah.
And I get to collect those now and I get to drive cool cars to work every
What, what's
day.
your what's your favorite car?
Favorite car? Ah, man, I love a lot of different cars. So I'll tell you, I drove a car in today that I really love, which I literally drove it this morning before I came in here. It's a purple 1971, I believe, Ferrari Daytona,
Oh,
like
wow.
the 365 GTB4. Yeah, it's like early 70s. It's got that long sort of shape to it. It's got like the white interior. And it's not like a hypercar. You're not gonna like, it's not that, but it's like it's cool, it's classic, it's old, it's like very primitive technology.
Are you gonna buy it?
I drove it. It was mine.
Oh, you own it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used it
Okay.
today. It was awesome. I commuted in it
How many cars you own?
a lot.
How
Like
many?
I think like close to 40 now.
Oh my God. So what's your car collection worth?
A lot.
What is that number between me and you?
Probably tens of millions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? What are your other indulging items?
Well, the same thing that you're indulging in on your wrist.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You like those, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I put those two in what I call my rich hobbies.
Yeah. Favorite watch?
Uh, Favorite watch. I really love FP Journe.
Yeah.
Really, really love FP Journe. As a matter of fact, this painting was a gift from Laurent Journe. And
Oh,
actually,
wow.
those are the two guys in that little painting up there.
God
Yeah.
damn, you spent a bunch of money with him then. How many watches you own?
Ah, I think I've got more watches than cars.
Oh, wow. See,
How about you? How about you?
well, I don't have any supercars. I had, I don't know, I've never bought a supercar, the Ferraris and stuff. I've had three or four Rolls. I don't think I'll ever buy another one because I never felt good in them.
Hmm.
I mean, I loved being in them, but I didn't like when I drove up how I felt when I got out of the car. And so
I
now
know
it's
that
like,
feeling.
you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Totally, totally.
now the watches, I regret almost every watch I've ever bought.
Really?
Yeah, dude, I just never use them, bro. Like I'm gonna give them all away. This is my favorite watch.
What is that? That's a Patek annual
Yeah, it's
calendar
Patek.
photograph, right?
It's a green Patek. There's 25 of these in the world. This watch will be worth something one day.
Yeah, dude, that's a very special watch. I have to admit, I kept looking down. I was like, is that what I think it is? Is that what I think it is?
Yeah,
That's
I
quite
never wear
something.
it, dude. I like wearing it today was like I don't know why, um but I regret every watch I bought. I had this
Really?
beautiful
Why?
I don't know, dude, because it's one thing is I had a terrible experience with a Richard. I bought three
Hmm.
Richards. They never made sense to me. I know it's a complete hype thing. But there was one I bought, only 10 of them. It was an Asian
Hmm.
watch. Forget the name of it exactly. Loved this watch. Absolutely gorgeous. And I had it ripped off of me at an F1 race.
Oh,
The watch was probably 750 to $1 million at the time. They targeted me. The whole thing was a setup. Put a big press on us as we were leaving the F1 in Miami, and they pulled it off of me. Um, and look, the whole thing was organized, completely organized. 16 watches were ripped off that day from 16 different people.
and they targeted you specifically.
Oh, they targeted the watch. They knew that watch. So I think there was six watches, six or Richards lost that, not 16, six or Richards, and they were all had something similar, very scarce watches. And that watch was probably sold that night to some other part of the world. Anyway, that's my negative experience with them, but dude, I don't insure them.
Did that color your whole watch collecting journey after that?
Maybe a little bit, but even before that, okay, even before that, like I don't know, like I want one right now. I saw that. I saw you probably saw this. Thanks for spending time with me talking here, but
Yeah, totally, man.
Leo wore this light blue Rolex at this most recent Oscars.
Okay.
I see a watch and I immediately say, I want that watch. Like it's so fast, it's instant.
Hmm.
And I'll probably end up buying that watch and I'm going to regret buying that fucking watch too. So it's like, because I never wear
Well,
them.
you don't wear it? Why not?
It's just like, I got to strap it on. Now I need a box to hold them. How many you
Yeah.
got? How many watches you have?
Probably like close to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Do you ever go out and not put one on?
No,
Never.
most. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like not wearing a watch. I feel kind of naked,
Yeah.
to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Because even when I was younger, like I used to wear a calculator watch every day. And like I would sleep with that thing on, like I would live that with that thing on my body all the time. And
Uh
like
huh.
even to this day, like I have, like I have a, I guess it's not that bad. I'm not getting nearly enough sunlight right now, and I got to change that. But normally I have like a big like, tan mark right here.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I feel kind of naked without him. And I think the thing I love about him is actually pretty similar to what I love about cars and why all this stuff is interesting to me is it's human and it's like the intersection between engineering and art, you know? And it's kind of like these technologies that you can experience every day, but that are fundamentally classical in a nature, you know? Like they're not really digital. They're sometimes digitally designed, but the making of them, the way they feel is entirely human.
Yeah.
And there's something about things that are handmade. You can't put your finger on it, but you know it when you experience it, you know it when you interact with it.
Yeah.
And it just like it gives me that little warm and fuzzy feeling inside.
Before we end here, where do you go with Etherflux?
Literally to space. I mean, where does the company go from here? I mean, I think
Yeah,
there's
where do you go? I mean, how does somebody get involved? Is there going to be, where are you at in that process?
yeah, so we're I think about I want to say about 40 people that are working on it right now. We're going to expand it really substantially. We're going to have to hire a lot more people to actually do this at scale. Where does the company go? What does it try to do? I think the goal of this thing is to commercialize outer space. And I think
Mm,
energy has got to be a part of commercializing outer space. I think also space is not a native environment for commercial activity to this day. And there's definitely an analogy here between kind of how I think about space as a commercial platform and how I thought about mobile and finance as a commercial platform. Meaning, space is an emerging platform for commerce. 15 years ago, doing stuff on mobile devices was an emerging platform for commerce. The opportunity I saw there were verticals of like the traditional economy that were, I felt, underrepresented on the mobile platform. I look at space as a platform and I see sectors of the traditional economy that aren't represented. That's the opportunity. Now, the data centers and space thing is an interesting sort of version of that opportunity because the amount of like capital expenditure that's going to happen on building AI infrastructure, it's already dominating the economy, right?
Yeah.
And a world in which even a small percentage of that, you know, is driven in space,
Yeah.
it's going to dramatically expand the commercial envelope of space. It's going to dramatically expand the commercial envelope of space, meaning there's going to be just a lot more money that is being spent and made with space technology. And the reason I think this is so important and to kind of actually to answer the question that you asked, um, like I want to create, I want like I've already had several chapters of my life that I'm really proud of. I had the chapter of my life that I pulled myself out of, Southern Virginia and got myself an awesome education. I had the chapter of my life where I created, wealth for myself and I created a product and a company that I was extremely proud of. And this chapter of my life is to take all the things that I've learned and try to dramatically alter the trajectory and the relationship between humanity and outer space, and to create so much commercial opportunity there that it accelerates all the other stuff that could happen. And that's, I think, where, in my mind, where this has the potential to go. And this might not be quite what you're expecting me to say here, but like there are really, really big and interesting questions that space can help answer. Big
Mm.
and interesting questions about the nature of humanity, life, the universe. And the obvious one is like, where is everybody? Like where is this little is this like is this little blue layer of the atmosphere of this one little planet the only place we'll ever see life? God, it can't be that way, man. It can't be that way.
Yeah,
Like
you want to believe there's other life.
I want to believe there's other life and I don't
Yeah.
want to do ET I want to approach it with a very pragmatic viewpoint, and see if space can help us answer that question. Like, is there life in our solar system? Is there
Hmm.
life on Mars? Possibly. I think
What
a
are
more
the other
interesting,
questions that you want answered about life that you think space will provide?
I mean, is there aquatic life on the moons of Saturn and Jupiter,
Uh-huh.
Are there ways to use our ability to look at the night sky that can help us find some examples of life on neighboring star systems? Like, don't you want to know the answer to that? I really do.
Dude, yeah, I'm curious about a lot of things. Where do we come from? Why are we here? How did we get
Yeah,
here?
exactly. And we just know so little, so little. Like, have you ever heard of this thing called the wow signal?
No.
You
The
about this?
wow?
Yeah, the wow signal.
No.
Um, I remember that when I first heard about this, like this dominated my mind for like months. There's this thing. Let's see if I can remember this correctly. There,
WOW, right? Wow.
wow, yeah.
Okay.
There's um there's this there's this big radio telescope. I believe it's in Ohio. It's called the Big Ear Telescope, and I think this is in the 1970s, where they're looking at the night sky for, you know, blips in the electromagnetic spectrum where it's sort of like postulated if there was a life form, like these are the frequencies of light. If there is a life form, these are the frequencies of light that they would likely be producing that don't occur naturally. And there's this telescope that's looking around at the night sky that's looking for this. And this wow signal was I think it was a research scientist, like a PhD student or something, that was one night looking at the results coming from this big, this big observatory dish and sees a blip and he circles it and writes the word wow next to it.
Wow.
And that was, I actually don't know what the current state of affairs on that is. I think it was like viewed as potentially actually a sign of extraterrestrial life from a neighboring star system. And I think it was debunked. And I actually don't know where it stands right now, but like we don't yet have the footprint in outer space to be able to look, you know, all around the night sky to see if there is somebody out there sending something to us that we could see. And like, it doesn't have to be ET. It can be
Yeah.
very scientifically and sort of technologically um, motivated in the approach to finding it.
So when you talk about going you just paint the picture for me. Is there a piece of equipment up there that's collecting solar and then sending
Oh,
it to this is the first phase. You go up there, commercialize space, make money doing it, and then there's
mhm,
other discoveries like you're talking about come later because we're
mhm.
up there. But like in this first phase of your company, what paint the picture for me?
Yeah, we build spacecraft that go to space. They deploy
Launch.
big, yeah, they launch, they go to space. They deploy large solar arrays. They collect electrical power directly from the sun in orbit. By the way, the reason that's interesting is because it's possible to put satellites in orbit where they're nearly continuously illuminated by the sun.
Hmm.
And so you have the ability to use solar panels to generate baseload electrical power, which obviously you can't do on the surface of the earth because day-night cycles, weather cycles. So I think that's and
And then
without using it.
how does that energy get back to the US or back to the planet?
So in the case of building a data center in space, you have these big solar arrays that deploy out. They collect power, they collect the light from the sun, they turn it into electricity, and that electricity goes into a bunch of GPUs,
Mm.
right? So you power them directly in space. And on these satellites, you have either optical or radio frequency, um, excuse me, communications antennas or laser systems that allow you to transmit data from space to Earth and vice versa. So the most simple example would be you have a satellite that's hosting, an AI model like Gemini or something open sourced. And on Earth, you basically create like a context window, right? You type in a message to it. That message goes up to the satellite. It does the inference thing that we were talking about earlier. And then it uses a laser or an RF antenna to take the results and beam the results back down to ground, and you get to use it. So you get to use a data center in space in many of the same ways that you would use a data center on the ground. So that's kind of how that concept would work. There's also the collecting power and beaming it directly from space to Earth, which is actually the first thing that we're doing. And the way that works is you basically collect power up there. You turn it into electricity, and in the case of the first mission that we have going up, it stores it on a battery. Then that battery is connected to a laser that takes the electrical power and discharges it into the laser. The laser takes the electricity, the energy that's electricity, and it turns it into energy in the form of light. That light gets transmitted down to the ground, like basically pointed like a flashlight down to the ground. And on the ground, you have a receiver that takes the light that's being projected down onto it. And it's actually just a glorified solar panel. It takes that frequency of light that you're transmitting down and it turns it back into electricity. So it's
What is
super
this?
wild idea.
This is deflationary then, right? I mean, this makes electrical costs go down, I would
I
expect.
mean, I think the ability, I think there's so much demand for electricity, it's just gonna augment the need for it. You know what I
Uh,
mean? I think they're in the
you,
in
you,
the
you,
decade,
you think the more we create, the more that will be consumed.
the more we create, the more we'll consume.
Yeah.
I very strongly believe that. Yeah.
What's your thoughts about, and this will be, I'll let you go here, dude, because you've been so gracious with your time, but what's
That's
your
fun.
thoughts talking about energy and financial? I got to think about Bitcoin. Where do you stand on Bitcoin and how that, what happens with Bitcoin or the blockchain going forward?
I tell you, truth be told, I don't think about Bitcoin quite that much these days. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure that I've got a super insightful viewpoint on it. I think as an asset class, cryptocurrencies is something that a lot of Americans care about, and I think it's very important in that regard. But like where it goes from here,
Yeah.
like I just honestly, I don't have a ton of super. I have a lot to say about like finding, aliens in space. I'm not sure that I have a ton to say about
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Well, it sounds, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like, hey, you're like, I'm thinking about space and answering some much bigger questions. Beishu, I can't thank you enough for your time today, man. I really, really appreciate it. And my takeaways, my audience, I know is going to love this. But what you've done for me to share your time and insights with me has been very beneficial to me in my life, and it's going to make a difference in what I do going forward.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on, and frankly, I was looking forward to this, and so
How
I
how do you even know who I am?
I mean, you're famous, dude. I've heard about you, read about you before, seen you
Yeah,
on the internet. Yeah.
yeah, okay. I never know how I run into people, so or how people run into me, and I
I
I've known
also
it.
I also love the advocacy that you have for entrepreneurship. I think that I think being a builder and an entrepreneur is like it's an honorable thing to do. I think it's much more honorable to like create things, to bet on oneself, to see one's ideas from like, nascent thought to thing in the world. I think that's just that's one of the higher callings in life. Like building things, creating things, there's a real purity to it. And I think, there's so many people that like put building things and talking and criticizing things on an equal playing field, and they are not the same.
Yeah,
Being a critic, in my opinion, is fundamentally unimportant. Like that energy could be better spent creating something that expresses that viewpoint.
yeah. And when you're saying creating something, you're really talking about work, aren't you?
What do you mean?
Work, the value of work. I mean, I think that people see where you got in your life, whatever the number is, 4.5 or 5 billion or 6 billion or whatever. They forget all the work
I mean,
without
as an
pay,
entrepreneur,
without
it's not work,
rewards.
it's just living. It's like
Uh-huh.
living and it's taking your ideas and making it a thing. And you can call it work if you want to. I've been fortunate to never really think about it like work, to be totally
Uh-huh.
honest. It's just a project that I'm building or like a thing that I want to create. And generally it's like with my homies. That's one of the best parts of being an entrepreneur is you get to like build a community of people that share your viewpoint and you get to be friends with them and you get to like, share in the highs and the lows together. So you can definitely call it work, but for me, it's always just been like working on projects with my friends.
Man, you've been great, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you
Likewise.
for your time. Where are you today?
San Carlos, California. I'm actually
Okay.
at our office and right on the other side there's a window right here and there's like literally a satellite, you know, an R&D factory down there where
That's crazy.
I think
So,
there's a meeting going on. I heard some people clapping.
yeah, when do you start raising money?
Man, this is there's a lot of money that will be raised in the process of doing this. So
How
more
how
more
how
to
much
come on
money
that.
you think?
To bring this idea to life at full
Yeah,
scale will be
yeah.
billions of dollars.
How
Yeah,
many?
billions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Hundreds of billions?
I don't know about that. I
Yeah.
think hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, that's a gargantuan amount of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think,
Elon's about to do 1.5 trillion.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, look, maybe someday, I think you can, the immigrant in me, or the sort of like the poor kid in me, like always tries to run things pretty lean.
Yeah.
So I'll see if we can do it with billions.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you.